I wonder if you will let me tell you of a hope I have for the boys and girls, their parents too, whose education has been limited by poverty. I want to help establish a school where anyone who has an hour or two to spare may come and study what he or she wants to make life more useful. It was the year 1915, and Denver, Colorado was filled with people who tragically had no hope to further their education. It took a woman named Emily Griffith to establish the unprecedented public opportunity school that would come to educate 1.5 million people. Although her life ended tragically, her school triumphed, giving the people of Denver a sanctuary to learn and a place to better their lives. I already have a name for this school. It is Opportunity. Emily Griffith finished 8th grade in Custer County, Nebraska in 1884. She began teaching elementary school to support her dependent family. The school was far away, so Emily lived in her students' homes. She quickly became aware that few of the adults in Nebraska were educated and realized the dire need for free adult instruction. In 1895, Emily Griffith and her family moved to Denver, Colorado. At this time, the city was recovering from the Panic of 1893, a financial crisis that occurred when the government stopped purchasing silver. As a result, 435 mines closed in Colorado, and over 45,000 people lost their jobs. As the city recuperated, Emily taught grade school and cared for her mentally disabled sister, Florence. In 1904, Emily was promoted to assistant state superintendent, in which she observed classes. She was shocked to discover that some schools were populated with children who hardly attended because they needed to work to support their families. Emily realized that without the impetus to excel in school, students would not be able to attain profitable careers in later life. She decided to return to the classroom where she could assist these tragically impoverished children. In 1913, Emily Griffith began teaching at the 24th Street School. During the 3 years she spent there, Emily pondered ways to overcome the obstacles to learning, which included poverty, frequent truancy, and language barriers. Sometimes Emily visited the students' homes and taught the entire family. She witnessed drunkenness and brutality and noticed that the parents' lack of education affected their children's academic success. Only 40% of Denver's high school-aged youth were actually enrolled in school, leaving 60% trapped in mediocre jobs with little pay.
I looked out the window of the old 24th Street School one morning, and it was September. Children supposed to be in school. Across the street, I saw about 10 boys. You're going to have a new school someday. You're going to have a school where a boy like that can go in and work 2 or 3 hours on schoolwork.
Emily began teaching free classes at the vacant Longfellow School at lunch and in the evenings in 1914. Working children and adults along 24th Street could come and learn arithmetic, English, and reading. Her openness to diversity was uncommon during the time, as Colorado still had laws allowing segregation in schools and public accommodations. Emily found that although there were already schools in Denver with vocational programs, such as the Manual Training High School Center and the School of Advanced Stenography, they only admitted a certain age group or had expensive tuition. In fact, she found that in the entire world, there were no free public schools for students over 18. Emily's crusade to help the lives of impoverished adults had begun. To get support for her school, Emily Griffith first allied herself with organizations that cope with social issues, such as ladies' clubs, the Social Services Bureau, and the Red Cross. She gave speeches to the public and addressed influential individuals, passionately explaining her plan for the institution. Soon many people were rallying with her, trying to convince the Board of Education to try out Emily's new idea.
And that her greatest opposition came from people in her own field of education who worried that if you had a school with no age requirements, no admissions requirements, no attendance requirements, no curriculum requirements, that it would just unacceptably lower the standards of education. And they worried also that since Emily herself really did not have a college degree by any stretch, that she really didn't know what education's proper role was, and that the school really just didn't fit into what public education ought to be.
Despite her colleagues' critical beliefs, Emily continued in her crusade. She became more persistent and determined to establish a school, and by the spring of 1916, it became difficult for the Board of Education to ignore the demands to open it. Emily's request was to make a school where anyone of any age, nationality, or gender could attend. Even the blind were to be accepted. A government official in Washington, D.C. recalled, "Emily Griffith came east to tell some of us about her school and to get some help for it. I was shocked that a city like Denver could so long remain indifferent end to what this woman was trying to do. Finally, on May 11, 1916, after over 2 years of lobbying and campaigning, the school board accepted Emily's proposal of the Opportunity School with a unanimous vote. She was appointed principal and supplied with the condemned Longfellow School located in the heart of Denver. The Opportunity School opened on September 9, 1916. Students could be instructed in automobile mechanics, English, millinery, citizenship, or whatever they wanted to make life more useful. When the school opened, a 50-year-old student said, "I've given up a good job in the grain and feed business so I can come to school daytimes. I will do anything to earn a bare living while I study."
During the first week, 1,400 people were enrolled, more than 6 times the Board of Education had expected. Thereafter, all controversy concerning the new school disappeared. Every newspaper article triumphantly praised the wonderful institution that now contributed to a vital part of Denver education. In 1916, prohibition was enacted in Colorado. The people working in breweries, liquor stores, bars, and saloons were left tragically unemployed. The Opportunity School instructed them in new skills that allowed them to obtain better-paying jobs and promotions. The school also set up a guidance bureau that studied Denver's needs and sought out positions for the students. In 1917, the United States entered World War I. The school was one of the first institutions in the nation to offer ward trade classes. With all the publicity, unions were opposed to the school's methods of training because it went against the apprentice system already established in the trades. One such union, the Bricklayers Union No. 1, took 3 years to complete their program, while Opportunity School only took 3 months. This led them to go on strike in 1923. However, Emily made every effort to solve disputes and work together with unions to share resources. During this time, the KKK discriminated against immigrants in Colorado, but Emily Griffith provided them with an equal education. By 1927, Emily Griffith and her school had gained world recognition. Letters and emissaries from England, France, Russia, and Japan asked Emily to come to their country and help them establish a school of their own. But Emily decided to stay with her school in Denver. Institutions in Detroit, Washington, D.C., and Los Angeles were established based on the Opportunity School by 1930. Emily's idea had integrated itself into the network of education, introducing for the first time the idea of free adult instruction.
On December 14, 1933, Emily Griffith retired as principal after almost 20 years devoted to the institution she had triumphantly established. The school was renamed the Emily Griffith Opportunity School in 1934. 13 years later, in 1947, Florence's condition worsened, and Emily struggled to care for her. They lived in a desolate cabin and barely survived on Emily's income. Tragically, on June 19th, Emily Griffith and Florence's bodies were discovered, both shot in the head. A neighbor and friend of theirs, Fred Lundy, shortly thereafter committed suicide and was suspected in the killings. Teachers, students, and friends grieved the ending of a life that had founded the legendary School of Opportunity. One government official stated, "It is shocking to think that such a splendid life should be ended so tragically in a remote cabin." Despite Emily's tragic demise, the Opportunity School continued to grow and thrive. And in the 1970s, after the ending of the Vietnam War, many veterans returned to Denver. Opportunity School offered the veterans a return to normal life. And in the 1960s, when racial issues tensed throughout the nation, the Opportunity School remained diverse. Emily Griffith is one of the few women celebrated in stained glass windows at the state capitol. By the time Miss Griffith died, she had already led 100,000 people through the doors of her school. Emily had triumphed, establishing the Opportunity School and contributing a new concept to education that would act as a model for the rest of the world. Emily endured the doubts and speculations about her idealistic institution. She remained firm, continuing to voice her idea for a type of school she believed was needed. At a time when many Americans joined organizations such as the KKK to persecute impoverished immigrants, Emily Griffith established a revolutionary alternative, a school that welcomed people of all backgrounds to come and study together.
Over the last 90 years, 1.5 million people have come through this school to a better world, and I am, on behalf of Denver, completely, totally, irrevocably grateful.
Although the memory of Emily's tragic death will linger, her triumphant contribution to education will remain forever valued.